Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday. Holding up two fingers because today is the second day of the working week. I don't know. Don't follow my logic. It's 1 a.m. It's really late. It's technically Wednesday then, but we'll excuse that because I'm still up. Dinner tonight, let me tell you, dinner tonight was so easy and delicious. I was really happy. I'm sorry I don't have like a picture or anything to show you, but it was basically a tortellini pesto salad. It wasn't really salad, it was just tortellini and olives and bacon, like crumbled bacon and pesto, and I think that was it, and it was so good. Oh my gosh, I love olives, and I had forgotten how much I liked olives because I haven't eaten them in a really long time. I just haven't really been around the opportunity to eat them for a long time. And Chris doesn't like olives, and so I just don't get to eat them. I've only had them once in the past probably year and a half or 2 years or possibly even 3. So yeah, and I just forgot how much I loved olives, and it tasted really good. And I made my own pesto too, which was pretty cool because I haven't ever done that before. My mother has made pesto, and I've seen her make it before, and I've been around her while she's made it before, but I also am a huge fan of pesto, and so it was just like all good things together. The tortellini was kind of like, meh, it was alright. I liked the tortellini that I made better that last time, but I didn't make my own this time. It was just packaged stuff, but it was still pretty delicious. So yeah, that was dinner, and my mouth still tastes like garlic because of the garlic that was in the pesto. But I have been looking at wedding rings. These are just temporary engagement rings. We've showed them on the vlog before a little bit, but they're the one ring from Lord of the Rings. Don't focus on my face, focus on the ring. It won't do it. Anyway, they're the one ring from Lord of the Rings, and they were $1 on Amazon, and we didn't care. We thought it'd be really fun to get engaged with that because we both really like Lord of the Rings. So we decided to get engaged with this, and we knew it wasn't going to be our actual wedding ring, so we've been looking for stuff, and I've been on Etsy for the past 2 hours looking at stuff, so I'll give you guys a little peek of what we're considering. And just to mention, we have actually looked at rings quite a bit. We've actually started looking at rings together, wedding rings of what we like, since right when we started dating. We actually like looked at stuff. Not that we were thinking of getting married right that second, we just wanted to know each other's opinions and tastes on stuff, and they're like exactly the same, which was awesome. So we have looked at rings off and on quite a few times over the past several months, and now we are just gonna order, and we'll get it a few weeks before the wedding, and then we'll use them to get married, which will be awesome. So Chris and I both really like nature inspired stuff quite a bit. We like the viney type things, and so there's this ring which kind of has some pretty designs on it. And there's other rings that have like leaves on them and stuff like that. It's mostly leaves that we like a lot. This is very similar to the first one. If it's not exactly the same, it just looks more detailed. I really like this one. I think this one is super pretty. I'm really leaning towards this one because I like the wood and everything. So yeah, we just like nature-y type stuff. That's what we've decided we want for our rings. It's kind of like almost elvish in a way. So that's kind of a general thing. That's like, this is my small list, my short list, and I need to narrow it down to my even shorter list. I had about probably 20 or 30 pulled up. I went over hundreds of rings because we just really need to get them ordered. Looked and looked and looked, and yeah, this is, I guess, kind of my long list. I already went through and closed over half of them because a lot of them just don't come in both of our ring sizes and stuff. But these ones all do, and they'll all work. So I'm really excited. I'm just kind of really tired at this point. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's really late. I just need to go to sleep and think about it again tomorrow when my brain is actually working.
So last night I talked about how I kind of got a little bit sick from doing that, lightheaded and very bad feeling afterwards, because I'm almost positive it was because I drank too much water and because I ate right beforehand. So I didn't do that this time. I did not let that happen again. I kind of took it at a good pace this time. I did it the right way, I feel like, and I feel perfectly fine now. And I actually feel really, really hungry, so I'm going to eat one of the salads that I've been talking about for a couple days now that I've been wanting to make. Just one of the avocado things that I have been kind of really anticipating trying. I thought I would show it to you. I mean, it's super simple. Yeah, you'll see. It's super simple. It's pretty big. I made it kind of big. It's a pretty big salad just because I'm pretty dang hungry. So it just has some romaine lettuce in it with some of these carrot matchsticks. And I put in some cucumber and some red onion and then scooped out half of an avocado. I actually ate the other half already. I ate the other half when I got home from being with Giselle, and it's already in here. You can kind of see little bits and pieces of it. And just the last thing that I want to do with this is just squeeze a little bit of lemon juice in here. And I'm not necessarily following a recipe exactly. Oh, I got a lemon seed in there. I'm going to take that out. Ugh, I don't want to bite on that. So I was there's 2 lemon seeds. Ugh, I got to remember to take those out before I start eating. So I am sort of following a recipe, kind of. I mean, it's not really a recipe. It's just like throwing all this stuff together. I guess that's what a recipe, the definition of a recipe is throwing ingredients together. But whatever. It's just a salad that I saw a list of ingredients for online. It's the only thing missing for this is tomatoes, like those little tiny little tomatoes, because I'm not really into tomatoes, especially raw tomatoes that are just sitting in a salad. So I didn't get those, so I think it'll be fine without that. But they did say to add lemon. It also said to add a little bit of salt, which I'm going to do very, very sparingly. Just add a tiny bit of salt, and I think that's good. I'll mix it all up and hopefully get it all the salt that I just poured on top to mix through the rest of it. And hopefully it'll taste good. I mean, I'm pretty excited to eat this. I've been really, really dying to try this for the past few days, which actually feels really weird to me because I usually don't feel that way about stuff like this. But if I do end up liking it a lot, then it'll be a really nice thing to put into a daily routine of just eating this, because I bought a bunch of stuff to make this all the time, and I'm hoping I can make it all the time and keep on eating it at night times or whenever I feel hungry and stuff. The salad was good. It definitely had too much lemon on it. I am definitely not going to put that much lemon on it next time around, just way too much. And it's probably just a little bit too much salad in general. I was really hungry, and I didn't realize how filling it would be, but I definitely filled myself up. And, I mean, that's probably a good thing after burning all those calories and stuff.
Also, last night I did loads and loads of laundry, and I still have at least 2 more loads that I need to do. That's ridiculous. I let it get out of hand, and then I got a bunch of skirts last Saturday, and yeah, so much laundry to do. It is utterly ridiculous. I still have so much left to do. Now I have a lot of fun, springy summer skirts that I can start wearing. The only problem is the weather isn't behaving. It's already the freaking middle of May, and we haven't had a sunny day in a week and a half. I think yesterday or today was our first sunny day in a week and a half. That is just so wrong. California is not like that where I live. Closer down to the beach, I think it is more overcast in my experience, but where I live, it's never cloudy. And I was Skyping my mom today, and she took me outside and was showing me the garden, because my mom has this beautiful garden in her front yard, which is a bit overgrown right now. I guess that's what happens when you have 6 children to weed and prune and tend your garden with you, and then they all leave. I guess that's what happens when she's working and super busy and is doing 2 weddings right now and is, yeah, just doing so much stuff right now. And the garden looks like a fairy garden. It looks like magical fairies would be living there because it's all overgrown and beautiful, and she probably thinks it looks like a wreck, but it's actually my favorite when it looks like that. But she was showing me the jasmine, and the peach tree is like hanging over the roof of the house now. It's grown out so much. It's so huge. It's ridiculous. I've never seen it this big before. And our apple tree and all our rose bushes and the honeysuckle at the front of my house. So my garage is like, say, right here, and then it comes in and there's like a walk, and this is the front door, and then the house comes out like this, and then this is the other side of the house, and the honeysuckle grows along this side of the house and right here. And now it is all the way over at the front door of my house. It has just creeped its way like vine plants tend to do, and it has just taken over half of the garden along with the mint. Many years ago, my mother planted mint in the front yard, and at first, especially when I was younger, it was like in this really confined, nice spot, and it looked nice, and it got wilder and wilder, and now there is mint all over the whole front garden, taking over everything. One of my favorite things to do when I was younger, all growing up, was to have fresh mint tea from the garden. Constantly was drinking mint tea, and my neighbors across the street had a different kind of mint. I think ours is spearmint and theirs is peppermint, or vice versa. I like ours better. It's just I'm more used to it, and I just prefer the taste of it, but we'd constantly be either mixing them together or having one or the other, and it was just very fun. And we have lavender and rosemary and plantains and violets. I love violets. And also the potted plants around the front door, which are just more like pretty decorative flowers, not stuff that you'd use to eat or for healing purposes. And we just, so many flowers. We used to have baby's breath in the backyard, and we have thyme growing all over, and yes, I love my front garden so much. I've spent countless hours out there either working or playing, and yeah, so it was really fun getting to see that today. It was really fun to look at it and reminisce and see how overgrown it is. It kind of amuses me because of all the freaking hours I spent as a child weeding during the summer, also during the rest of the year as well, but especially during the summer. I would remember waking up, going and praying and reading the scriptures with my family. We'd all read together in the morning, and then all of us going outside and my mom reading to us for half an hour or 15 minutes to half an hour while we all worked in the yard. And we also have strawberries in my front yard too, which is usually that was my task to do when I was younger, is I would have to weed the strawberry bed. And so this is like, yeah, those are my memories, because the strawberries line, there's kind of like a patch of grass right at the front of the house alongside the driveway. There's grass right there, and then edging the grass is a path, like a cobblestone path, and then edging the path is a strawberry bed that goes all the way down like this and then like this. And yeah, it's really beautiful, and I loved eating fresh strawberries from my yard when I was younger. And this is just kind of like our flower/herb garden, and then we had a vegetable garden in my backyard along with grapevines and stuff like that. And we had 3 peach trees in my front yard and 1 in my backyard, but we ended up having to cut down the 2 in my front yard, unfortunately 2 of them, because people in my neighborhood were not very nice, and like the kids in the neighborhood started like coming up into our yard and like taking the peaches and just smashing them all over the sidewalks and stuff. Like, I have no idea why these children or teenagers or whoever it was were so badly behaved, but when my dad saw that, he's like, that's it, and he just ripped them up. It was really sad. I liked both of those trees a lot, but that was so many years ago, probably 12 years ago that I'm like surprised I still remember having those trees, because I was like 8 years old and so little. But I remember those 2 trees in the front yard and I really liked them. But we still have 1 peach tree in the front yard and that one's really wonderful. Peaches are my favorite fruit and I adore them, and we have 1 huge peach tree in my backyard. We also have a couple elms around as well, and I think we have a Chinese elm or something, and it's the worst thing ever. It spreads seeds like nobody's business. Seeds everywhere, and we're constantly ripping up its nasty little sapling children. Ugh, I hate them so much. They are the worst when weeding the vegetable garden, because they're like this big and you're like, oh, and then their roots are like 2 feet long and you like cannot get them up. It's the worst. Exaggerations, major exaggerations, but they're the worst. So yeah, there's just so much things. But in our vegetable garden we often had a lot of tomatoes. So many tomatoes in my vegetable garden when I was growing up. There's videos and pictures of me with them being way taller than me, and we'd have, I don't know, probably 20 or 30 feet just full of them, and it was really fun actually, because we'd have a bunch of cherry tomatoes and then we'd have a few big tomato plants. I also used to really love growing carrots and potatoes when I was younger. And I think I tried parsnips one year, but they didn't grow, I don't think. But I was always constantly planting tons of things. I had my own personal garden bed. We each had our own garden bed in the vegetable garden. And I still have horror flashbacks of when I was younger digging up my potatoes, and it like had grown but it had rotted at the same time, and it was like all squishy and disgusting. And some of them were fine, and this, like, 1 or 2 of them were just the grossest things ever, and the feel of them was the worst thing ever. Also, I have horror memories of grubs, because grubs are the grossest things ever. I've killed hundreds of grubs in the backyard. Whenever we'd see one, we'd, like, flick it out and stab it with the shovel, because the little hand trowel, because, we don't want them in our garden, but they're nasty and I hate them so much. And tomato bugs too. We also had a ton of tomato bugs in my backyard all the time because we had a lot of tomato plants all the time. Also grew a bunch of like peppers and stuff like that. And one year, my last year that I had a garden was when I was 15, I think. And I tried to plant corn and I ended up getting fish and using them to try to like make them grow better, because that's what you're supposed to do with corn plants, is you're supposed to plant fish in them. They didn't grow. I don't think I dug them deep enough. I tried to follow the instructions and none of them grew, or they grew very short and they like withered in the hot California desert sun, and it was very sad. The last year I attempted to garden was just utter failure. Never tried again, didn't care enough, and was way too busy with school at that point. Yeah. Anyway, now that I've rambled about my garden for many, many hours, I guess that's what we'll call this a day. But it's really funny because I did kill those flowers that I was given. And now hearing about this, you're probably surprised because I was constantly in the garden when I was younger. I was outside more often than I was inside, which is kind of funny considering that I never go outside now, but it's just such a comfort place for me, and I'd constantly go out there and read for hours or listen to audiobooks for hours. I remember one time coming back from the library, probably around 9 or 10 a.m., and I'd gotten one of those little MP3 player audio things that the library has, and I got one of Mariella Redwall, and I remember getting that and plugging in my little headphones, and I walked around the backyard for like 10 hours that day until I finished it. I walked around until it was dark. Like, I probably went inside to eat. I don't even remember. I just remember walking around and listening to the whole thing in one shot, like probably stopping for dinner. But yeah, such were the joys of homeschooled children who were who loved going outside and were encouraged to go outside often, and constantly just eating all the fruit and vegetables just growing right out of the garden. But seriously, a peach picked right off of the peach tree is probably the best thing in the world. And we just go rinse it under the hose and eat it, and it drips everywhere. Also, I said I was done, but I'm not quite. One other funny thing is that we'd constantly be eating peaches, and we'd spit the seeds out into the garden beds because the garden beds were right next to our peach tree. I mean, how could we not? We were eating. Like, what else were we supposed to do with it? Like, walk 20 feet down to where the garbage bin was and throw it away, or throw it in the compost bin, which was even closer than the garbage bin. No, we didn't want to go to the compost because it was so far away, plus didn't smell very good most of the time, so like we didn't want to go down there. So we throw them into the beds, and we ended up growing several peach trees by accident in our garden beds, which was really funny. And then we had to like tear them up. It was actually kind of sad, but I had one in particular that grew in my bed, and it was the most annoying thing ever, and it was like knocking over the wooden things holding the beds together and all this stuff. It was a nightmare. My dad had to like chop it down because it grew so big. Ooh, another thing that I constantly grew were sunflowers, but there were always ants on it. Also, sunflowers are so awful to touch. I hate touching sunflowers, like the stems, because they're all like pokey and they feel so awful when you touch them, especially when there's a bajillion ants eating the seeds. And the seeds aren't very good unless they're like roasted with like the nice seasonings, so I didn't actually usually eat them, but I really liked sunflowers, and I liked the idea of sunflowers, but they're awful to touch, and I didn't like them. I could talk a million more years about memories and thoughts of my garden. I have like 10 more stories I want to share with you guys, but this is already a ridiculously long vlog. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it so much, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.